This is an art collage novel video. I made this series so you guys can experience the story faster. The video will focus on the character's psychology, the images are for illustration purposes only. Jun's excited expression froze for a few seconds. Then, his expression turned cold and he said, "What did you just say?" I didn't hear it clearly. Could it be that I've been away from the realm of heavenly martial arts for too long, and the meaning of the vocabulary has changed? Everyone was also shocked as they looked at Xian Yutong in horror. They did not understand how he had the courage to provoke this person. Xian Yutong smiled indifferently. Of course it hasn't changed. Since you didn't hear me clearly, I'll say it again. I'm asking you to hand over the remains of the ancient god's battlefield to complete this piece of scattered world in my hand. Oh. Scattered world? Hearing your name, this fragment does indeed contain a part of the world power of the ancient god's battlefield. Your contribution is great, but the more I look at your dead face, the more uncomfortable I feel. No matter how great your contribution is, it can't offset the sin of making my eyes uncomfortable. Stupid fish, attack. Jun's face turned cold. Upon receiving the order, the crocodile roared and pounced forward. It turned into a small tornado and fell on Xian Yutong. Xian Yutong clenched his fist and kept the scattered world in his hand. A gust of wind blew from his hand and he punched out. The extreme power spread on the tip of his fist like water ripples. The wind was frozen by this punch and turned into the body of a crocodile, which was howling. What? Everyone's heart skipped a beat. They could not believe the power of Xian Yutong's punch. Shenghua snorted coldly from a distance. He looked extremely dissatisfied and said angrily, "So there's actually someone in the heaven-suppressing pagoda who would protect himself like this, how embarrassing." Everyone had the same thoughts and dissatisfaction in their hearts, but it was also because of this that they had a glimmer of hope in their hearts. Xian Yutong ignored Shenghua's complaints. He stared at the crocodile coldly, licked his lips, and laughed hoarsely. As expected, it's not an ordinary elemental manifestation. If I continue to train it well, it might be of great use. Light flashed in his hand, and the scattered world flew out. It generated the power of the world and was about to suck the crocodile in. How dare you? Jun shouted in anger. A ball of demonic chi burst out from his body and suddenly rose into the air. A shocking demonic palm appeared in the sky and quickly slapped down. The astral wind crocodile was something that had the potential to advance into the 10 directions divine realm. How could he just sit by and watch it be taken away? What a powerful palm strike. The muscles on Xian Yutong's face twitched. Purple clouds appeared in his palm and formed a strange symbol. Then, the symbol spread out. Purple chi shot out and spread around his body. A palm force surged out from the earth like a mountain, reaching into the clouds and stabbing towards the monstrous demonic flames. Boom, boom, boom. The power of the palm suppressed the demonic chi in the air, but it suddenly disintegrated after a moment, like a mountain collapsing, shattering down bit by bit. Xian Yutong frowned. Jun's strength was beyond his expectations. He turned into a flash of light and escaped 100 meters away, avoiding the attack. Boom. The place where he had been standing was smashed into a big pit, but the demonic palm was not destroyed. It condensed into a black shadow in the air and slapped towards the scattered world. It turned into a claw at a close distance and grabbed down, trying to take everything away. Now that half of the crocodile's body had been swallowed, Xian Yutong's expression changed. He formed a seal with both hands and pointed in the air. A domineering sword light suddenly appeared in the scattered world and cut the crocodile's body in half. The upper half of the crocodile was swallowed. The remaining lower half of its body was sent flying. It still had the appearance of a crocodile, but its aura was obviously much weaker. Stupid fish. Jun's face changed and he cursed. The demonic claw had already grabbed down, and the sword momentum of the scattered world rose again. Suddenly, a white-robed figure flew out from it, and the sword chi in his hand directly split the demonic claw and rushed toward Jun's body. Jun's face turned cold. He raised his finger and pointed it at the sky. A stream of demonic chi penetrated the sword light and pressed on the sword. That person's treasured sword was immediately bent, but his other hand formed an incantation gesture and touched the sword, instantly shaking off the demonic chi. His entire body was sent flying back several hundred meters before coming to a stop. Di Jun furrowed his brows as if he was dissatisfied that he had failed to kill the man in white. At this moment, Xian Yutong took the opportunity to store the scattered world into his body. His hands were constantly changing the spell. Lights of different colors gradually formed in front of him. Purple, green, blue, red, a total of 9 colors formed a strange array and suddenly blasted towards Di Jun. Oh. It's the power of the 9-colored extreme Dao. Di Jun's pupils contracted slightly, and he completely put away his carelessness. With a single hand gesture, a Dharma form with 3 heads and 6 arms appeared. Each of them had a ferocious face and held a treasure in their hands. The face in front was unusually cold. It formed a demonic seal with both hands, and a circle of black patterns flashed on it. Then, it pressed down. The 9-colored extreme Dao power was like a golden seal, shaking the demonic chi. The formation spell on it changed, and the 9-colored light condensed in the formation, turning into a golden color. 7 tadpole-like characters shone among them, representing the rule of this ancient charm. It gave birth to a huge power, and the demonic seal began to collapse. Maha ancient scripture? Di Jun's expression changed drastically. Maha ancient scripture? As his expression turned serious, not only the 2 hands in front of him, but the 3-headed and 6-armed Dharma form behind him also began to form seals. Black and demonic chi spread out from its body. The weapons on its 6 arms waved down at the same time, and the shadows of 6 profound weapons appeared, suppressing Xian Yutong's attack. They were actually evenly matched. Di Jun's face was filled with anger. In the past, such a move would not be a problem. However, his body was still incomplete, so it was still extremely difficult for him to deal with a martial emperor expert of this level. It was a pity that the crocodile's intelligence was too low, and half of it was taken away so easily. Otherwise, if they had joined hands, they would have killed everyone. Xian Yutong's pupils also shrank. He did not expect his opponent to be able to withstand his 9-colored extreme Dao power. The 2 of them were in a stalemate for a while, and it was difficult to determine who was stronger. However, the people of the Merchant Union were completely dumbfounded, as if they had just seen Xian Yutong for the first time. They couldn't see through Di Jun's cultivation level, but Su Danhe, who still had half of her strength left, was completely turned into a meat paste by his attack. He was actually able to resist for so long and wasn't even at a disadvantage. "You're not weak," Di Jun said coldly. "You're qualified to be my slave." Xian Yutong's pupils shrank. He saw Di Jun suddenly close his eyes and mutter an extremely strange sound. A few golden lines appeared on his chest and formed a strange symbol. Then, the demonic flame on his body rose again, pressing down on the 9-colored extreme Dao force and showing signs of collapse. Xian Yutong was shocked. He didn't expect the other party to have such a strong power. Under the suppression of the demonic chi, he felt a huge pressure on his body, as if he would collapse at any time. He pushed his palms forward again, and his skin suddenly became transparent. A cold force came from his bones. It was the essence of ice that he had taken from Yuan Bo. It had been refined into his body, suppressing the discomfort in his body. He was in a stalemate with Di Jun again. Tianjue set up the formation and suppress him together. Xian Yutong suddenly shouted. The scattered world in his body flashed, and more than a dozen figures flew out. There were a total of 12 of them, and each of them had the aura of a martial sovereign of the 9th heaven. They surrounded Di Jun in an instant, and the distance between them did not increase or decrease. It seemed that they were in some kind of formation. The people of the Merchant Union were all dumbfounded. Not only was Xian Yutong's strength far beyond their expectations, but there were also so many experts hidden in the so-called scattered world. With Xian Yutong's current combat strength, he should not have been in such a sorry state when he was facing the big demon. Now, the energy fluctuations between the 2 of them were comparable to the big demon's final attack with the Jushi wheel. Now, even a fool could see that Xian Yutong had hidden their strength, and it was too deep. Cui Bo's heart skipped a beat as he mumbled to himself, "Heaven sends mayfly, heaven sends mayfly." He seemed to have thought of something, and his face was full of horror. The white-robed man, Tianju, held a sword in his hand and shouted, "Set up the formation." Among the other 12 people, 2 of them were the ones who had chased after Yuan Bo's ice soul that day. Each of them had a leveled 9 mystic sword in their hands, and each of them stood in their own position and performed a sword technique. Under their joint attack, a terrifying force shook open the sky, and a long black tunnel was directly split open. Di Jun's expression changed drastically, and he was filled with shock and anger. The other 2 faces were also ferocious. They spat out clouds of black gas, and the battlefield of ancient gods rushed out from the 3 heads and 6 arms, pressing down on the black tunnel. He had just assembled the battlefield of the ancient gods, and it was still heavily damaged. He did not want to use it in a battle of such intensity, but the power of Xian Yutong had exceeded his expectations. At this moment, as the power of the 3 heads and 6 arms was gradually activated, the strength of Di Jun's body was still increasing, and it seemed that there was no limit. The weapons in the 6 arms began to become solid, and the power pressure between them and Xian Yutong began to lose balance. The situation was gradually under Di Jun's control. The sky had long been ruined. All kinds of chaotic forces were constantly colliding with each other, and a few of them were shaking into the ground, causing huge shockwaves, which terrified the people of the Merchant Union. Everyone was in danger. Just the power of the aftermath made them not even dare to defend themselves. Xian Yutong's expression was extremely unsightly. His sallow face became extremely distorted and began to peel off bit by bit. Before Di Jun made his move, he had measured the gap between them and felt that he was very confident. However, Di Jun's 2 qualitative improvements in his power had shocked him. Di Jun looked at the other party's twisted face, and all 3 faces revealed a strange and cold smile. He said in a cold voice, "I'll turn you into a dried corpse. Your body is not bad, especially this bone marrow. It seems that you've cultivated some kind of advanced cultivation technique." Just as he was feeling pleased with himself, Di Jun's expression suddenly changed. As if he had sensed something angry, he suddenly raised his head and roared, "Bastard! Where are you? How dare you plot against me? If I find you, I'll make sure you die a horrible death." Xian Yutong was taken aback. His opponent's power was rapidly declining. His eyes flashed with joy. With a flash of his hand seal, the 7 ancient scriptures changed their arrangement. The 9-colored extreme light immediately changed. A white light broke through Di Jun's power and hit him. The demonic chi in front of him was dissipating rapidly. Di Jun was roaring in anger, but he seemed to have no time to care about it. He was struggling in the air with anger. After Xian Yutong's attack succeeded, he could not be bothered to continue his attack. Instead, he turned and ran towards the ancient gods' battlefield. His ultimate goal was to collect this transcendent-grade profound-level weapon. With the sudden change in Di Jun's condition, the battlefield of the ancient gods began to become unstable. Under the combined attack of the sword formation of Tianju and the others, the battlefield retreated rapidly. The world around the tower continued to shrink and even showed signs of collapse. "Your name is the ancient gods' battlefield? From today onwards, I am your new master." Xian Yutong laughed wildly as he formed a seal with his hands and grabbed at the ancient gods' battlefield. A familiar power flowed into his hand, and it felt the same as the scattered world. It was extremely comfortable and exciting. Suddenly, a ray of demonic light appeared on the ancient god's battlefield and shook off his consciousness. Xian Yutong's expression changed and he said viciously, "Mo matrix restriction?" He snorted and began to refine it. At the same time, he looked at Di Jun, who was in a rage for some reason and his power was fluctuating. He said coldly, "Kill him while he's weak." "Yes, my lord." Tianju and the other 13 people followed the order and flew up. More than a dozen sword lights broke through the air and cut into Di Jun's body. The demonic chi began to collapse and the 3-headed and 6-armed Dharma form gradually disappeared. What made Tianju and the others frown was that Di Jun was still indifferent to the attacks and let them kill him. He just held his head and roared, his eyes were about to spit fire. At the same time, in a majestic hall tens of thousands of kilometers away, a row of cultivators stood in a solemn manner. Each one of them exuded a demonic chi, and a strange look appeared in their eyes as they stared in fear and reverence at the devilish-looking man in front of them. The man looked exactly the same as Di Jun. At this moment, his face was cold, and he revealed his three-headed and six-armed Dharma form. His 6 arms made various hand seals, and demonic chi constantly gushed out of his body. His aura was sometimes strong and sometimes weak, as if responding to Di Jun, who was thousands of miles away. The man was Di Jia, who had come out of Mount Meru. He felt the change in his power, and he kept sneering. He muttered to himself, "I didn't expect you to get into trouble so quickly. The heavens are really helping me." The martial artists behind him felt the growing demonic chi from Di Jia's body. They trembled in fear and submitted to him. Too strong, this is great. Poor Di Jun, before the other bodies appear, only you and I can share our power. I hope you can be killed quickly. Di Jia laughed wildly with joy, and the aura on his body continued to rise. After sensing that the other party was in trouble, he kept trying to draw power over. As expected, he succeeded, and his strength suddenly began to soar. On the other hand, Di Jun was roaring in the sky above Songyue City. He could feel the demonic power in his body being drained continuously. The dozen people were chasing after him and killing him. In the distance, Xian Yutong was thinking of ways to refine the battlefield of the ancient gods. He wanted to make him go completely mad. Arg. Di Jia, you will die a terrible death. Di Jun roared as both of them were desperately trying to pull each other's strength. In the midst of despair, his pupils suddenly shrank, and a look of joy gradually appeared on his face. A huge amount of demonic power rushed into his body, quickly replenishing his consumed strength. This is a Kasaya. Di Jun's heart trembled. There was only one possibility for this to happen. The gradually disappearing three-headed and six-armed Dharma form suddenly solidified. The 6 arms gathered a powerful force in an instant. Some formed seals, some drew swords, and some clenched their fists. They exerted a powerful force at the same time. A move was formed in front of him and suddenly blasted out. Boom, boom, boom. A mass of demonic chi rushed out of the 10,000 sword rays, and the flames soared to the sky. What's going on? Tianju and the others were shocked. That one move had actually blown away all of their sword auras. All 13 of them felt an unparalleled force that sent them flying hundreds of meters away. All of them suffered internal injuries of varying degrees. Di Jun did not chase after them. Instead, with a flash of demonic light, he appeared beside Xian Yutong and slapped him with all his might. Xian Yutong was trying his best to refine the battlefield of the ancient gods, but to no avail. The power of the restrictions on it was far beyond his imagination. Just as he was feeling a little impatient, Di Jun's palm suddenly struck him as fast as lightning without any warning. That palm directly triggered the power of the ancient gods' battlefield. Xian Yutong's consciousness immediately suffered a backlash, and at the same time, an astonishing palm power attacked. Xian Yutong's heart sank. At this moment of life and death, his potential burst out. His body became almost transparent at this moment, and the jade-like cold essence could be seen at a glance. The 9-colored aurora also burst out from his body, forming a huge force in front of him to resist the demonic power. Boom. The light on Xian Yutong's body was instantly dispersed. He spat out a mouthful of blood and fell to the ground. Tianju and the others were shocked and hurriedly flew over, afraid that Di Jun would pursue and kill them. Di Jun held the ancient god's battlefield in his hand. He had no intention of continuing to attack. Instead, he threw out the ancient tower and kept the crocodile, which had only half of its strength left. He turned around and stared coldly at the shocked Xian Yutong on the ground. You're lucky today. I'll leave that shard and half of the stupid fish's body with you for the time being. I've already left a mark on your body. After this big matter is over, I'll come back and refine you into a dry corpse." With that, the entire ancient pagoda transformed into a ray of light and shot into the distance. Di Jia, who was far away in the hall, was shocked and angry. He said, "The third body." The power of the third body had appeared at this time. That guy was really lucky. No, I must get him before Di Jun. The row of cultivators behind him trembled under his anger, each of them prostrating on the ground and trembling. Di Jia's face was gloomy. He instantly turned into light and disappeared from the hall. The place where Songhua Yang's city was located was already in ruins. Even the broken walls could not be seen. There were only broken stones everywhere and a dead silence. "My lord, what's wrong?" Tianju and the others flew down from the sky and found that black marks had appeared on Xian Yutong's body, and they were spreading. He must have been invaded by demonic qi. Xian Yutong gritted his teeth and shook his head. "I'm fine. The demonic qi entering my body is a little troublesome, but it's not a big deal. The last change just now was too strange. I don't know what this person's background is, so it's best to be careful when we meet him in the future." Xian Yutong's face was gloomy and uncertain. He had revealed all his strength, but he still could not obtain the battlefield of the ancient gods. The only thing he had gained was the half of the power of the immemorial squall. After suppressing his injuries, he slowly looked at the people from the merchant union. At this moment, everyone felt that Xian Yutong was extremely unfamiliar. Half of his eternally sallow face had shed, making him look a little strange. "Who the hell are you?" Ren Guangjuan only felt a chill in his hands. Xian Yutong's eyes were emotionless when he looked at them. Cui Bo, who was recuperating in the distance, said bitterly, "Who else could it be? I didn't expect you to have hidden it so deeply." The person who controls the Golden Edge and Silver Radiance, the president of Tianyuan Trading Company, Lord Ding Shan. Tianjue was the name of the leader of the Golden Edge and Silver Glow. Before it disappeared, it was also a well-known existence in the merchant union. Although everyone had their own speculations, they were still shocked when they heard it from Cui Bo. No one was unfamiliar with Ding Shan. He was one of the leaders of the 7 great chambers of commerce. However, he had long since retired from everyone's vision and gradually faded away. No one had expected that when they saw him again, it would be in such a situation. Moreover, the strength that Ding Shan had displayed made everyone even more shocked and uneasy. "No wonder you're so quiet," Cui Bo said bitterly. "You'll lose your status if you spend too much time with him. Did you kill Elder Xian, or was Elder Xian you all along?" At this moment, Xian Yutong no longer had any need to hide. The yellow wax on his face began to melt, revealing a thin and delicate face. Even his body changed, becoming thinner. A cold smile appeared on his face. "What do you think? Why? With such great power, you could have killed those monsters. Why did you watch Songhua Yang's city be completely destroyed and more than 300,000 people die with you?" Ren Guangjing roared in anger and fearlessly looked at Ding Shan's cold eyes. "Whether you're Ding Shan or Xian Yutong, you're still a member of the merchant union, and you're after the merchant union. Is this what you want?" Ding Shan looked at him coldly and snorted, "Merchant union? The so-called business alliance is just a toy for the 4 core leagues. The business alliance that I, Ding Shan, want belongs to Tianyuan Trading Company, not to the 4 core leagues. Since it doesn't belong to me, what's the use of it? What does the lives of these 300,000 plus people have to do with me? What does death have to do with me? You're so ambitious. You want to be the leader of the merchant union. What a pity." Ren Guangyao said coldly, "Even if Songhua City is destroyed, you can't be the leader of the merchant union. Master, this place has already become a place of trouble. It's better to kill them all and leave as soon as possible." Tianjue frowned. "Wait." Ding Shan stopped him and said coldly, "These people are all quite powerful, and their status is quite high. They might be of great use if we keep them." He took out that piece of scattered world and grinned. "Everyone, come to my world together. Let's join in the grand event of the new era. Everyone's heart sank. They saw the debris of the ancient gods' battlefield floating in the air and gradually forming a world, sucking them in one by one.